All right, so the third question is I guess a question about, what you advise to our students here. So it says, you have your undergraduate degree, but what kind of training experience has been helpful to you? And I guess what kind of knowledge skills do you expect recent graduates to come in with? So could you talk about some specific training or experience that has been helpful to you, aside from the undergraduate degree? Marshay, if you want to start.
I'm thinking I'll pass this one to one of the others.
Okay, you pass this one. Okay.
So is the question more? Is the question more like at UVA or like post UVA?
I think both. You can. I would say both. That's the way I understand the question. So either one.
I think for me, definitely. So like during UVA and like the Econ department, there was definitely a lot of times where you would work on, problem sets or certain projects as a group.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like definitely prepared me for certain things. At like my current company, a lot of times we're like working cross-functionally, and like I'll have someone from like our legal team, someone from our product team, someone from sales, and like we're kind of all working on a project together. So I think I took a lot of those skills from UVA to my job today. I also think not like I haven't done any like formal training, but I think like going back to what I was saying before is like just getting into like, you don't need to find the perfect job out of school. Like I think you just get in, find a job and start to kind of like learn on the job. Because a lot of the, I think econ and college and school up to your point, in at least my career, was teaching me how to learn. And so then once I got into my career, I kind of like was able to pick up on like the company and what we were doing and my role, and start to learn like what my, how to excel in my role. And so just like getting in and starting and then following that path, like what I like to do, and kind of like that kind of kept bringing me to now where I am today. So yeah, I think just like jumping into a job, and it doesn't have to be the perfect job, and you start to just kind of learn on the job, basically.
Yeah, no, I like what you said actually about this thing about what is it that we do when we have a general education, right? College and arts and sciences, you're not learning a specific job, but I like what you say when teaching to learn how to learn, right? So being able to get into a new situation and understand how to approach it and be able to learn. I think that's great. Yeah. Anyone else?
I think at this stage, right, I think I saw that there were a lot of second years. I think it's really just important so I emphasize the soft skills, especially working in tech, because culture is such a big part of technology. Like if you think about Google, they're all about their culture. We don't expect you to come in at this point knowing everything about the business at all. Like we expect you to have basic industry knowledge and like know how to add in an Excel sheet. But what really, I think can help from a skill perspective and like helps people stand apart is how they interact with people, how they're able to adapt in like, fast paced environments, how you're able to work together with your team. That's all the soft stuff that you actually are picking up while you're in school. Now you're not working on like a worksheet about it, but you're doing it while you're at UVA. And those are going to be the things that like are, I think, really will make you stand out, when you do have your first job. Because one thing that I've heard, especially after coming out of business school, is that a lot of people today graduate with technical skills, but very little soft skills. And that is important to exceed early on in your career. And then like later, if you want to be like at the C-suite or, if people have that dream, it's really important how you interact with people. So that's what I would try to kind of focus on at this point.
Very good advice. Thank you, Marshay.
Yeah, I second what Marsha said. However, coming from a technical background in starting in the private side as a data scientist, it is super important having those technical skills if that's what you want to do. You know, if you want to be a data scientist, if you want to be a computer engineer, like those places, like you need to like be like on the top of your game with that particular, you know, career path if you want that. The soft skills are important regardless, because to get there, even if you want to be a computer scientist or a data engineer, you need to know how to communicate with people. You need to collaborate with your stakeholders, with your manager, with everyone. And so that's for sure super important as well. And with what Nick said, like I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so landing that, I thought I wanted to do consulting. I didn't even know what consulting meant. And so I was applying to all of these like consulting firms, failing all the interviews. It was horrible. And I was so demoralized. And then what happened was I got this random job at this engineering firm. And then from there, I just took off. You know, I got experience, exactly what Nick said. I was just like open to learn, and then you just go from there, and then you find your way. It might take more time. I mean, it took me, I went all over the place for a while, and then, you know, you find your way.
No, that's great. That's very inspiring. Thank you, and very encouraging. It reminds me of something. I think like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had a student who said, you know, I just want a job. She's going to start working on Bitcoin for some startup company. And she said, you know, it's maybe not what I want to do, but I just want to learn stuff. I want to get some experience, learn something, and some unintended, you know, we talk about the unintended consequences, something will happen. You know, I think as long as you learn, keep learning, and work on a job, and you do it well, I think that some good things will come out. I think we have maybe a bit of time before we start the Q&A, unless you want to add something, Nick. Is that
yeah, well, I was just gonna say, like, I think there's some people are blessed. Like my oldest brother knew he wanted to be a doctor when he was 6 or 7. He'd walk around with a stethoscope, and like, so I think it's some people do know, but like for me, it sounds like Maria too. Like, if you don't know, it's not like, I don't know. Don't put pressure on yourself because you once you get in, you start to figure it out.
True. I mean, even with my experience, like I really wanted to be on Wall Street. So I was like, I need to graduate, make all this money. I'm moving to New York. Like I thought I was going to be living the dream. And then I got to work at JP Morgan, and it like was not what I wanted at all. So sometimes your dream job isn't actually the dream job once you get there, right? And you have to be open. You know, you could either stay and kind of struggle, or maybe not be happy, or you can be open to changing and trying to try out different things. So it can work both ways. Like you can think you know exactly what it is that you want after school, and then try it and just be open to trying something new, because you don't know what a job is like, honestly, until you get into it. You can prepare as much as you'd like, but all companies are different, all roles are different. You have to really be a part of that organization to figure out if it's going to be right for you or not.
Yeah, you see. Thank you, Marshay. So I think we're right on time, right, Brian? Look at that. It's 1:45, and we did it perfect.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So I think it's time for your questions, the students. So let me read you a little bit the rules. I don't know them, so I'm just reading them here. So students may direct questions to anyone or someone in particular, and then panelists feel free to jump in if you have something to add, but don't feel the pressure to answer every question, for sure. And I think I'll leave it to Brian.
Yeah, so we got a lot of really great questions here. So I'll start off with this first one. Are there any skills that you learned from your econ major that you still use today? And if so, what are they?
I think every day you're learning something, right? I mean, I can't say like the specific skill, but look at like COVID and what's happening now. And I have conversations with like my friends about, you know, the economy and the effects that it was going to have when, you know, things were closing down. And you can have like those really insightful conversations, and you realize there are actually so many people in the world today that don't have that knowledge like basic financials, basic markets, and you're like the person teaching your friends and your family about, you know, why they need to do certain things or why they need to, you know, listen to such and such on the news, or don't listen to that information. They're directing you in the wrong way about Bitcoin or whatever it is. So it's like you can really find the misinformation out there. There's a lot in finance and economics. And I think that that's cool, because like I'm in the world all the time. So I think everyone knows this stuff, but it's not true. Like if you actually get a real good understanding of how the world runs and how the economy runs, that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah, that's great. Nick, Maria, do you guys have anything to add?
I touched on just like the group mentality that Econ kind of instilled in you at UVA of, you know, working on problem sets together. I think I've taken that piece to my current role and that experience.
I would say just like the general knowledge of how economics works and how you can apply it in, yeah, basically what Marsha said. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of to move on, this question is about kind of the technology industry and how COVID has really impacted it. So what are some impacts that COVID has had on the tech industry?
All it's from just like my company in particular, Plaid, like we kind of saw a lot of financial, the financial world kind of going more down the tech route and being more on your, you know, doing stuff on your phone, whether that be applying for a mortgage or buying a car or, you know, looking at your credit score, what have you. Like a lot of this is kind of moving from like in person and going to a bank and actually like just doing it on your computer, on your phone. And we were kind of going away already naturally, but I think COVID just like really sped that up, because all of a sudden, like you couldn't go into your local, you know, bank branch to talk to someone because of COVID, and or you didn't feel comfortable going in person. And so now all of a sudden, like especially banks and like credit unions have had to quickly figure out, all right, how can we allow people to do everything from their phone? And my company kind of helps, you know, enable that process. So COVID has definitely just sped up, you know, financial tech specifically.
Yeah, for me, working in the returns and Recommerce space, for sure, it has had a huge impact. There's been a surge on returns, which has caused all sorts of trickling effects on Amazon. For example, like our infrastructure for fulfillment centers and sorting centers is at capacity because we weren't expecting that surge. And which caused, you know, a bunch of projects and everything else to be impacted or delayed. It also put a focus light on returns and Recommerce because, you know, it's now a huge industry of billions of dollars. And how can we take all of those returns and either resell them again or, you know, liquidate them, dispose of them in an environmentally friendly way, and all of these problems that, you know, you don't think about when you're returning an item. And so that definitely has had a big impact on my work.
Why are more returns happening? For some reason, I would think like people would be buying more because they're just sitting at home, you know?
It's because people are buying more. And so
okay,
now.
Which just leads to more returns.
Exactly, yep.
Very interesting, very interesting. So this question here is about graduate school and kind of what are some of the factors that made you decide to either go to graduate school or go directly into work? And is having a graduate degree in economics important in the private sector?
So so for your MBA specifically, most schools want you to work before you go back to get it. So it's about 2 years at least of work experience before you go back to business school. But for like law school and stuff, you usually can go right straight through. Um, my first reason to go to business school, well, when I was like a fourth year at UVA, I was like, I want college to last forever, so I know I'm going to come back. When I got into the real world, I never let go of that. I was like, I'm certainly going to go back to business school, but I didn't know what was going to be like the point, the driver. So like I said, I was at JP Morgan, didn't like it too much. I went to the startup and I had a great time in the startup environment. And I was like, okay, tech is really cool. Like, how do I get further into this? And how do I get to like a bigger tech company to see if this is truly what I like? So I thought, hey, I really want to go to Google. And I thought an MBA would be a natural path to kind of switch into. I also switched my role from finance to more of a strategy role. So like to switch my role and to switch into like a bigger tech company. So I took the MBA path, and I'm happy to talk more about it. It's a whole conversation. It would take too long. But my decision making was basically on like career progression and changing the role that I currently had.
Maria, do you have anything to add, or do you guys have anything else to add about that? What you've seen in your career or your job specifically?
Yeah, so on that, I have 2 graduate degrees. One was, as I explained, because of the circumstances, and then the other one was more because I chose. Like, I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get a master's in public policy. And for me, I debated a lot whether to get an MBA or a MPP, and I decided to go the public policy side because of my background, Venezuela, and I wanted to, like, be involved in the public sector, and like that just sounded very appealing to me. You don't need a previous experience to get an MPP. It's good because it gives you more guidance into what, there's many things you can specialize with an MPP. And so for me, it was great because I took like the data focused route. And so that's what I took. And it was a good experience. I was able to leverage that for my next role. But I don't think, at least at Amazon and at Starbucks, like, you definitely don't need a graduate degree to start. I had plenty of coworkers who do not have graduate degrees and have, started from a data analyst and made it all the way to like a manager. And now, it might take you a little bit more time, but not necessarily either. So it's not like, like the key to enter that door. And then there's people that start at those, like, let's call entry-level positions, and then they kind of gain experience, and then they go off and get an MBA or get, a law degree, whatever they decide to get later on, or a PhD. And so it doesn't, but there's people that know, I want to get a PhD, so they go straight into doing it. My sister's like that. So yeah, there's all sorts of career path and, postgraduate degree paths as well.
Awesome. That's awesome. So this next question is, what is your favorite part about working at your company and your role? So Nick, do you want to start off with that one, or anyone else?
Yeah. Favorite part of my role. I think so I at Plaid, I started in sales, and I was very much working one-on-one with individual companies who are interested in using Plaid and selling to them. My new role on the partnerships team is a lot more cross-functional, so getting to work with different various teams at Plaid and individuals. And that has, in the last year and a half in this new role, definitely been my favorite part, is like getting to talk to someone on our corporate development team about a new product we're launching, or to our legal team about like how to structure a new partnership contract, or working with our product team on like this new product, how we want to get it to market. So all the cross-functional exposure and getting to work with those different types of people and roles, as well as I think like Plaid is very much like a place that, and tech, I think in general, is like try and make it more than just about like your day-to-day role. And so at least when we were back in the office, there were a lot of stuff, almost like EVA, like extracurriculars, I'd call them. And so there's like, you know, book clubs and you know, volunteer groups, and a lot of like just things outside of your day-to-day that you can get involved in, that I think is an awesome kind of part of technology and the tech world that has kind of grown, that I don't think your kind of traditional company was as focused on.
Yeah, it definitely builds that community, that sense of community and partnership. Maria and Marshay, do you guys have anything to add on this question?
Yeah, sure. So for me, so I only been at Amazon for 6 months, and it's super different from Starbucks. One of the biggest things is that Amazon is a humongous company. So everything from like robotics to, you know, I don't know, space exploration to everything that you can think of, Amazon is doing. And so in 6 months, I can change teams and do whatever else I want to do. And so that like array of possibilities, and also in terms of like my day-to-day, you can just think of amazing solutions and you can make them reality too. Like you're not constrained by other, like, I don't know, like smaller companies that don't have the capital and the infrastructure that a huge company like Amazon does. And with that also, like the caliber of people that I work with is amazing. Like people are so smart, and it's just really, I don't know, it just makes me really happy working with really smart and people that challenge me and make me learn and love my work. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That really is. Marshay, do you have anything to add?
I like in terms of aspects of my job that I love on the day to day, there's a lot of like presentations, and I really like, you know, talking to people. I like, you know, leading stuff like that. So that's cool. I'm really big on like office culture. I like that there are like couches around the office. I like that we've got a gym. I love that we have free food. And I know it sounds like a little funny, but I just started to realize like when I was moving into tech that I really do value those things. And like you also get to meet up with your coworkers, because that the space that you're in facilitates how you're going to kind of connect with other people. If you have a more relaxed environment where you guys can do stuff around the office and like like Nick was saying, like there are different events. I really like that like familial type of setting. So even though Google is really, really big, our teams are small, and when we are in the office, unfortunately we're not there now, it's a really a great environment to be in, and I just like the perks.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. That's definitely one of the nice things about a technology job, is that you do get a really nice community feel. They seem to really promote that. So this next one is specifically for Maria or Marshay, but Nick, you're more than welcome to jump in too. And it's, do you think that tech backgrounds like a CS major, or in tech backgrounds, you need a CS major to work in positions like operations manager, product manager, positions like that?
No, not at all. Yeah. Like no one in my team except me have like a data or quant background at all.
Yeah, you don't. So when you're thinking about the roles in tech, there are like very technical roles, and then there are roles that you may not need the technical skills for. Like if you're going to be an engineer, of course you want that background. Product manager, you know, like Maria said, at Amazon, you don't need those skills. There are some companies like that. If you're a very small startup and you're a product manager there may be some nuances where they do want you to have a technical skills, but most of the time the answer is no. And then if you're doing strategy, marketing, finance, Absolutely not. I mean, you need to do things that correlate with your role. And if you're doing finance, you are not coding at the company. So technology is an umbrella term for what the industry that you're in, and you should understand, what's going on in that world. But in terms of your skills, you can have an econ degree and get into a number of different roles without having a technical background.
Yeah, and Nick, do you need a technical background coding at Plaid, or is that, is there specific jobs for that specifically?
There's definitely so we split up Plaid into like EPDS, like engineering product design, and then go to market, which is like sales, marketing, operations. And I think like for the go to market side, you don't need technical background, like econ, kind of generalist degree is fine for any of those roles. And on the engineering side, if you wanted to be like actual engineering coding, then yeah, you would want to have those like CS skills for those roles.
Awesome. Great. So this question is for Marshay, and somebody is asking to talk a little bit about your side business, and kind of what, inspired you to create that and start that. And so. Yeah.
So my side business is called Bosoms. It's a funny name. I created it when I was in business school because I also studied entrepreneurship, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So I was like, let me just try to see if I can. I'm making clothing that is bra free. So it means if you're a lady and you don't want to wear a bra, which a lot of us don't, while we're in quarantine, you can wear your everyday tops without having the constraints. So we literally just launched in 6 weeks ago. I've been working on it for a year, and it's my kind of my side baby in addition to Google. So I mean, like when you're at the stage, like we've all kind of had the same message. You're literally figuring it out, and I love being at an age where you can try different things, and you just kind of want to see what sticks. So I'm putting a lot of time and effort into Bosoms because I truly believe in our mission and what we're doing. But it's right now it's another thing that I dedicate my time to with Google.
That's awesome. That's really cool that you have, a job at Google and you're creating something that you're really passionate about as well. That's
cool
really awesome.
So you're doing the late night work.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So this question here is asking about the transfer to remote working and how do you think that's going to change the tech industry in the future?
I think so. Yeah, I don't think Amazon at least will ever be back to, working 5 days a week, every weekday at the office. Like so we're working remotely until June. And after that, it's probably going to be like, you go once, maybe twice a week to the office, and then the rest you work remotely. Like the pandemic just showed us how like we can really all work and be efficient and, get work done the same or even more sometimes while working from your home. So yeah, which is awesome. I love it. There's a great benefit not having to commute every day. So yeah, but I do miss the office too. So.
Yeah, I think for like our company for sure, we realized like, all right, we can do everything we were doing remotely. And in some ways, I feel like people are working even more because there's no time spent eating meals together or commuting, or it's just like you wake up and start working, which is like probably good and bad. And so the one thing though, and like, yeah, so like tech is set up in a way like it can be done remotely. Most tech companies can do it. I think the one thing that I've missed out on, and I think like companies are weighing, is you start to lose that kind of like connection and there was that energy you get from going to the office and like you feel like everyone's working towards this common goal and it's energizing and without just like working at home and being isolated, it's hard to have that. And so I think like companies in general, I think we don't want to lose that. Like we want employees to be really energized and fired up about what they're doing. So I think that piece is like one that will be weighed, and like maybe we'll try and get like a couple days a week, have people in the office, or do like once a month where you get together, but something to keep that. Because I think if we're just fully remote forever, people will start to lose the excitement that you get from being in person with others.
I agree with it all. Only thing I have to add is like, I feel like you guys will be graduating at a great time, because one thing that I like didn't like about the working world is at school you can make your own schedule kind of, and like figure out, wait, are you a morning person? Are you a night person? You know, when do you want to really work? And then you graduate and you're like, you know, you're here from 8 to 7 or 9 to 5, whatever your hours are. You have to wake up and get to that place. So I love that quarantine allows you, especially in tech, like I kind of can make my own schedule. I tend to start at 9 and trickle out around like 6 o'clock. But you know, I don't have to literally physically be somewhere. And that was relieving to me. But I really, really do kind of miss the office, and having the ability to be there 2 or 3 days out the week, I think is where we're going to end up going.
Awesome. Yeah, those are very interesting, and definitely nice to make your own schedule and have some flexibility. So we're kind of drawing to the end of our Q&A section. So I have one last question for you all, and I think it's a good one to end on. And it's, what is some advice you would give students who might be interviewing for a role in the tech world?
I'll start. I would say prep, like really prep for the interview. That was one thing that I didn't really realize that much at the beginning, but you need to, or at least if you're gonna apply for a job at Amazon, interviews, they take them really, really, really seriously. And it makes sense, right? They wanna, make sure they're hiring the right people. And so make sure that you go on Glassdoor or forums or whatever it is, look at old questions and try and answer them before the interview. You won't know what they're going to ask you, but at least you can prep. Then make sure you have all of your like background and stories, and you won't have that much experience because you're just graduating, but maybe you have some internships or some school work that you can take examples from, or anything like that will boost your resume and your examples that they're going to ask you for during the interview. So that's always really important. And then the other thing I would say that helped me greatly was use your network. So use your alumni network. Like UVA is a great, well-renowned school. So make sure you tap me, you tap everyone else on the alumni Econ major list and everything, so that if you want to work at Google, Amazon, Facebook, whatever it is, then you find that alumni that's there or has been there, and you email them and ask them for tips, ask them for a referral, whatever it is, because that definitely also helps.
Yeah, I would echo definitely the network piece. I would go on LinkedIn and just send a message to an alumni who's at a company that you're interested in, and they'll be more than happy to help. Every time I've had someone reach out to me about Plaid, who's an alumni of UVA, I've been like eager to help and get on a call with and tell them more about it. The second thing I would say is like maybe less so on the coding side, but on the business side, if you're looking for a business role, I really value like good questions. So asking good questions to show that, one, you've done the research about the company and know what they're doing, and also putting it back on the interviewer sometimes is it shows like your ability to understand the product and ask good questions, and I think can sometimes look better than just having the interviewer ask you questions. So asking good questions, taking advantage of your network, are definitely two things I would do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say prepping like is important. Just like to give you a story, I applied to Google's Bold internship program when I was a sophomore at UVA. I was also still studying abroad in Spain. And at that point, I think interviews were really like asking you questions about yourself, why Google, these things. And I just remember in the interview, they were asking me like to size the market for a new product if they were going to like launch Groupon for Google. And I was like, I'm not prepared for this at all. So try to speak to other older people in school, like if there are any fourth years, third years that may have like had the interview process, or anyone in your career services that can help you prepare. I think that's really important because all companies interview differently. And then in using your network is to get the job. And once you do get the job, there's also a huge network. I remember when I was interning at JP Morgan, it was in my third year, and it was for treasury services. I didn't know what it was. I just wanted to be at that company, but it wasn't what I wanted to actually do within JP Morgan. And I found someone at UVA who literally opened all of these doors for me to end up getting into asset management and like actually managing people's money. But I wouldn't have gotten there if it wasn't for that person who was like gung-ho about UVA students getting, good opportunities at that company. So really, really make sure that you talk to other people, alumni at the school, because they, I think we have like the best alumni who really, really have like a great connection with the school and want to work closely with the students to make sure that they have a good career path.
And I think that's clear from today, having three amazing alumni come on and talk to us, and it definitely shows how amazing the network is. All right, well, I want to close off everything. I want to thank our panelists, Marshay, Nick, and Maria, Professor Santugini, and all of you guys for attending and making this a success. But once again, thank you so much for attending, and we hope to see you next year.